Well, hello and welcome to this third lesson within the cycle or series of 10 lessons dealing with security administration within Sage CRM. Today we're looking at creating and editing a user. And this is part of a series of lessons building up to really a comprehensive understanding of how to administer application security within Sage CRM. In today's lesson, we're going to be covering the concept of creating a new user inside Sage CRM. We'll be using a user template to speed up the user creation. We'll look at editing an existing user's rights and profile and understanding and come to an understanding about how user changes affect access, workflows, and licensing. We'll also look at safely disabling users in order to preserve historic information about who has done what inside the application. Everything that we're doing in today's course is being recorded so that it can then be edited and published inside the Sage Support and Training YouTube channel inside the course on security administration inside Sage CRM. So this lesson is going to go up onto the YouTube channel and to replace one of the existing lessons that are already there. Now, inside, if we consider the concept of user management inside Sage CRM, user management is a core system administration task, and only users with system administration rights or info managers who are users with delegated administrative permissions can create or edit users. This is intentional because user changes affect security, licensing, and data visibility across the system. And in this lesson, we're going to look at how to create a new user, how those templates that we've looked at in a previous lesson simplify onboarding, and how editing a user changes what they can see and do, and how we should handle those users who are no longer in the organization and need to be removed in terms of their ability to log on into Sage CRM. So we'll be looking at how to correctly handle users who leave an organization. But let's remind ourselves about user templates, because before creating individual users, it's often helpful to create a user template. And user templates allow a system administrator to define a default security profile, team membership, language, a whole set of preferences and access rights as a template that can be then applied as you come to onboarding multiple users into the system, which all share the same role, such as being a customer service representative. Now, I'm going to log on into the system, and to do this, we're going to log on as a system administrator. And we've looked at creating the user templates in a previous lesson, but what I would like to do is to remind us about that process. So here I am, I'm logging on as the system administrator, and I'm going to navigate to my profile and then choose administration. Here we are within the administration screen. I'll just choose users and then down into the user templates. If I click find, you can see that I now have a list of templates on the screen, including the one that was created on the previous lesson. So if I click there, we can see that this is the template. In this case, this is a template created in the previous lesson, which is the new European sales engineers. And the creation of a template allows us to assign a default team, define language, security, access rights, and all sorts of preferences. Now, once a template is saved, it is then used to ensure consistency and to reduce configuration errors as we're entering that user. So this just to remind us of what these templates are. So I'm going to go and click on users in the breadcrumb trail at the top of the screen. So I click at the top of the screen, and now I'm going to go and use that template because I want to go down into users, and here we are. Actually, before we'd into new user, and what we're being asked to do is to enter in the user's last name and username and any other details that we want. Now, my new user I'm starting to create here is called Sarah May, and now they're going to be a new support team leader. Now, bear in mind, if you know the default or demo data within Sage CRM, you may know that there is a Susan May demo user as well in here. So there's going to be an interesting possible clash in usernames as we come across this. Now I'm going to use the template to help me complete the details. So I'm just going to choose the template. What we'll see has happened onto the screen that user has inherited from the user template, but I still need to confirm the license type. And now I can click continue. Now, it's at this point a check has taken place to make sure that there are no duplicate usernames. So I had called this new user with the username of Mays, M-A-Y-E-S, but there's already a Susan May inside the system, and so I need to change the duplicate name. So I just changed that. And what I've done there is I've made sure that my username is unique, and I've also got obviously the first name, last name, email address, etc., and an initial password into the system. So it's important that we'll be looking at password security policies in another lesson. But one of the things that is essential at this point is the idea of the primary team. That's quite critical, really, when it comes to most of the work that we're doing for the user. The primary team at this point is very important because it's defining access to queues, or rather the team listings, the team activities, the workflows, and setting a primary team to customer service in this case is allowing access to the work that the customer service team needs to do, which is all associated with cases and dealing with the tasks that arise from customer service requests. So if I click on to continue now, I've gone through and I know that my primary team is set to customer service. I know that I can look through here and you can see that the My CRM lists is set to user only. That limits records to the user's own work. Team lists can be set to the users team, which shows the visibility of shared activity. And you might see that my report access is set to enterprise, which allows running of non-private reports. Group access enables marketing lists and outbound activities, and these settings directly affect how the user works day to day. Now, let's scroll down and I'm going to look at some of the other fields. Some I'll leave as default, but notice that the user here has no admin rights and has no access to groups. That's if I scroll back up and click continue. I just want you to understand that those are the two things I wanted you to bear in mind, that there are some limitations there in that they don't have admin rights, no admin rights and no access to groups. We'll see this important in a second. But if I click continue, I can now set some preferences. Now, these are preferences that can be inherited from the template and then overridden by the system administrator, or they can be changed. Because these are preferences, they can be changed by the user themselves. And so this is all about configuring the user and helping them get the best experience out of the system. If I click save, I've now saved my user, and what we can do is we can go and try and use this user as somebody to log on into Sage CRM. Now I set an initial password. You can see I'm starting to log on as this new user, but I'm forced to change the password that was initially set. And so I need to complete these details, and then I can choose to log on, and my password will be updated. I'm logged on, as you can see here, into a standard dashboard, the welcome dashboard, and what I'll do is just go and have a look at what's happening in terms of the access in the My CRM menu. Now notice that in the My CRM menu, you would see the group option, but this user doesn't have access to groups. If I click on the Reports tab, now you can see that although the user has access to reports as a general idea and can run reports, here you can see I've come into the general category. They can run reports, but they can't create or edit their own report definitions. So if I return to the system administration screen, we can start to edit this to allow the user to change to change their ability to run reports and write reports, I should say. So we're editing the user now to change this user's rights, and I need to scroll down the page. And so this is where we've got the security tab. Now, the user's abilities are controlled. If we think about what a user can do in terms of create, read, update, delete data with an individual entity, such as the opportunity or the company or the case, then the user's abilities are controlled primarily by their security profile membership, and then and we'll be looking at the definition of the security profile in another lesson in this series. In addition to that, there's also specific flags such as the info manager. And in the example shown, we saw that our user could run reports but not create them. And we can also see that the group that the group feature and also the marketing tab, which is something else was missing, was completely not visible on the menu. Now, one of the things that will happen is if we change this user so that they're enabled as an info manager, and we then save that change, what we'll find is that the marketing menu would become available. The user would then have the rights to be able to create report categories, to actually become somebody who can edit reports and create reports as well. And those changes would take effect immediately after the user logs back on. So I'm just making those changes here. So I've made changes so that this user is an info manager now and can actually access groups as well. So let's save that. Actually, I need to scroll to the top of this page, which I've done, and then save. Now I've saved these changes into the user, and so I can switch back into the user's browser, and I can start to go and see what's happened. So up in here, you can see that this user now has access to groups. And there's also another menu, which you can see there, which is the marketing menu, but inside reports, look down into the general category again, we can see that this time the user, in accessing the reports area, it's clear that they can also edit the existing reports and create new reports. So editing a user doesn't change Sage CRM globally, but it does change that individual user's experience about what menus the user sees, what records they can access, what actions they can perform, how workflows and assignments behave for that worker, for that user. And this is why administrators have to be very deliberate and cautious when editing users, because you can actually have for that user quite profound effects. Now, I'm going to switch back into the system administration screen, and I'm going to consider what happens when a user leaves an organization. So I need to find an existing user, and what I've just done here is I've used the breadcrumb trail to return to the user screen underneath administration, and I now need to click the user option where I can search for the user, and in this case I'm going to look for Kylie Ward. And here we can see I've just put in the Ward as the surname, and I'm going to click on her record. So I'm now looking at the details for this user, Kylie Ward. So Kylie Ward, we're saying, is leaving the organization. But when a user leaves the organization, as far as Sage CRM is concerned, you should not delete the user. You should rather use the concept of disabling the user and reassigning the work. Now, this is because if you disable and reassign, all of the historical activity is kept with that historical user. So the audit trails are correct, and any reporting around that would be correct. But the good thing is that it does give up a license, so you can happily reassign that license to another user. So in order to do that, we need from here on this screen, use the reassign and disable option. And we then need to choose a new user or team to receive the work. So you can see that you've got the option of picking the target person to do to who is going to receive the new work. We can see as well what record types that need to be moved across. We should really only move those items that are in progress or pending, and then we need to confirm the reassignment. Now, one of the things that we need to think about is that warning that's at the top of the screen, which is users must have the appropriate security rights to see their newly assigned records. So I'm just going to make some changes. You can see that I've specified the records to be reassigned from Kylie Ward to the new user, Sarah May. And if I now click go, we can see a summary of the changes made to the data. And if I click continue, I can see that this user, Kylie Ward, is now disabled. So once completed, any open work has been transferred. The historical completed work remains unchanged. The original user can no longer log on, and the license has been freed for reuse. And so that's the correct and supported way to handle leavers. Now, what I've just done here is I've switched into the user screens for Sarah May. And now, if I go into looking at cases, we can see that all of the cases, or that's a lot of cases that have been reassigned from the disabled account here. And these would be the in progress cases. But all the historic information would still remain to that other user, that original user. Now, Sage CRM doesn't notify users automatically when their rights change. Users would typically notice changes by seeing new menus or tabs appear, or if they lose buttons such as delete or new. or they might receive an access denied message if they've gained or lost access to records. But good administration really includes communicating those significant changes clearly. So if you're changing not just here, as we've done, the rights of the user, but if we've changed aspects of the security profiles or team memberships, we should be telling our users what we've done. If I step on, we're coming to the end of this training session. So let's have a look at the key takeaways from this session. The first thing is that only administrators or info managers with the correct rights can actually go ahead and manage users. User templates, as we've seen, save time and improve consistency. Security profiles and teams define access, and user changes take place immediately. So if you've changed rights for a user, that is an immediate effect. And we always need to disable and reassign rather than delete users in order to keep all of the historic information as correct as possible. Clear communication about any of the changes that you're doing will always prevent confusion, and support calls for the internal administration team for your implementation of Sage CRM. So that's where we've got to. We've looked now at the creation of a user and editing of a user. In our next lesson, we're going to be looking at using company teams and setting them up and understanding how they are a type of security. But let's see if we've got any questions. Well, I'm going to say thank you so much, everyone, for coming along. Thank you for listening to me, and I look forward to seeing you at the next lesson. Thank you very much, and goodbye.